Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow, and I am back with an all-new video. Today's topic is 4 questions. These are 4 questions that I thought maybe you as a viewer would find to be of interest of things that I have seen. So it's a little bit different than our usual AMAs where questions or topics are submitted by you for me to look into. This is kind of like an AMA thrown on its head. I wonder if my viewers would find these topics to be of interest, of things that were not specifically asked about, but I think they're interesting, so I wonder if they would think it's interesting as well. So if this sounds good to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you at another video. Now, there are timestamps down below, and of course you are most welcome to get a preview of what these 4 topics I have looked into on your behalf or not on your behalf, however you choose to look at it. They are down below, but I'm going to ask you, if you can, please watch this video all the way through. And the reason for that is it kind of unfolds like a story. And imagine if you're reading a book and half the pages in the middle are missing. You're going to miss some key components to the story, right? It's the same thing here. So I'm really going to encourage you, even if you don't watch this video all the way through in one go, it's more than okay. Get your feet wet, get a little taste of what the topics are, but really I'm going to encourage you, if you can, watch it all the way through. And here we go. So these are 4 questions that I thought, as an energy reader, things that I have seen that I thought may be of interest to you. Number 1. As an energy reader, what is the most diabolical thing that I have seen playing out on the world stage today? And that is that we are creators and we are being denied our creativity. And maybe you might be thinking, really, Faye? Really? With everything going on in the world today, with the threat of war or homelessness or crime on the street and crime on the rise, this is the most diabolical thing that you have seen? Yes. And here's why. We, people, all human beings, and in fact, the entire earth plane was created for us to create in. But that our creative outlets and endeavors have been suppressed and denied to us. That God created the earth plane as a physical location for us, his children, to have a 3D physical location for our 3D physical bodies to reside in and to create in. And that we all have sparks of godliness inside of ourselves. And with that godliness is the spark of the Creator. And that is because God is the OG creator. Everything that you see was created by God. The ocean, the cosmos, the earth, the stars, the air, the trees, the people, all created by God. So God is the OG creator. And us, having souls, which come from God, also include the ability to create. Because look at creativity this way. Imagine, if you will, children have some similar corresponding DNA to their parents. So it might be, for example, blue-eyed parents have blue-eyed children, or blonde-haired parents have blonde-haired children, or tall parents have tall children. Those are very real 3D manifestations of genes that have been passed down through the generations. But when it comes to souls, and when it comes to divinity, and when it comes to godliness, it's not a 3D representation. It's an energetic representation. And it's not something we can see, it's something that we can feel because it resides inside of ourselves. But again, it's not a 3D material like a heart. We have souls, and our souls, because our souls are a piece of God, our souls include some of the same genetic material, if you will. But again, it's not a 3D genetic material makeup, it's an energetic genetic makeup. God is the OG creator because God created everything and God created us, and God created the earth plane for us as a 3D playground for us to create in. We got a spark of godliness inside of us. That means we have a spark of the creator inside of us as well. So because God is the OG creator, us having souls which come from God means we too have the spark of the creator inside of us. So imagine, if you will, growing up in a long line of carpenters. You're the 5th generation carpenter in your family, or not yet. You're not yet a carpenter. You're still a wee little one. But you grow up watching your dad tinkering in his carpenter's shop. And maybe your grandfather's alive, so you're watching your dad and your grandfather tinkering in their carpenter workshop together. So it's your dad and your grandfather, and it was your great-grandfather and your great-grandfather's father. A long line of proud carpenters, and you grow up watching all the men in your family in their carpenter shop creating. And imagine the kind of impression, indelible impression, that might leave with you. So as you're growing up, your dad takes you into the shop and he shows you the ropes and he shows you, basic elemental safety and maybe how to tinker and how to assemble some things. And then as you get older, you get married, you have a house of your own, and your father gifts you your very own carpenter shop that he builds for you because he knows how much you two have longed to have your own carpenter shop that you could create in. The earth plane is exactly like that. God created the 3D earth plane for us as a gift for us so that we, with our physical bodies, can take the spark of the creator that's inside of us and we can create on the material 3D plane with it. This is exactly what the earth plane is. It is, if you will, our very own carpenter's workshop, made with love by our Father for us to create in, just as he did. But now imagine you're this dad. You've got your very own workshop, your very own carpenter's workshop that your dad created with love for you. But your neighborhood has been taken over by vigilantes. And these vigilantes tell you, no, you cannot create in your carpenter's workshop because we need you to work for us now. Because if you want to ensure your survival, that's tied to our survival as well. So you can't create frivolous things in the workshop. You work for us now. So we're going to say you have to tear down that workshop, or maybe you don't have to tear it down. It can exist. It will become derelict. But all of that property you now have to grow crops for us. And then, in addition to you growing crops for us, we're going to come and we're going to collect additional crops as a form of tax. So that workshop that you have longed to create in is now standing on the side derelict because you have been told by the vigilantes in a post-apocalyptic world that have taken over your neighborhood. Maybe it's not just your neighborhood. Maybe the entire world has been taken over by different vigilante groups. And they are now setting the terms of how you have to live in the world because they're in charge. And you can no longer pursue frivolous things that bring you joy. So you need to focus strictly on things that are going to ensure your survival. And what are those things? Whatever they tell you it is. So it's maybe keeping up with the Joneses, or it's you have to have the right car, or the right house, or the right clothing if you want to be included in all of society. Now imagine you are the children or the grandchildren that are growing up in this post-apocalyptic world. Maybe you can see that workshop, but are you taken inside? Are you shown the ropes like your dad was and his dad before him? Or are you growing up in a world where the only thing you know is working to ensure your survival? Is this starting to sound familiar? I hope it is. So you grow up in that post-apocalyptic world thinking the only thing that actually matters is ensuring your survival. And how might that look in modern day times? Bills. But that spark of the Creator is still inside of you. Just like you might resemble your father in some way, the genes are still there, but you're being denied. So we are those children and those grandchildren. And we have grown up, if you will, in a post-apocalyptic world, even if it doesn't look like it outside. We've grown up in it. And all we know how to do and all we think that life is to ensure our survival. So, if for you, your life sometimes feels empty, boring, or meaningless, it's because we have been denied of what is in our blood and what we came here to do. Create. In case you're wondering, why have we been denied our meaning and purpose in being created and coming to the earth plane at all? It's because the vigilante group that I'm going to call the Cabal, they hate God. And thus, we, as God's children, they hate us too by extension. Why do they hate us and why do they hate God? Because when they stepped away from God and they left Team High Vibe and they joined Team Dark Side, they lost their ability to connect to the Creator that was inside of them. It's not to say that it's been completely eradicated. It's more akin, look at it this way. Let's say you lose your phone and you lose all of your contacts that are in your phone. And for some reason, it wasn't like backed up to the cloud. So you're going on Facebook and you're going on Instagram and you're saying, lost all my contacts, please send me yours so I can be in touch with you. Or maybe you don't even want to do that. You're like, I had way too many contacts. I only want to, have certain people that I can get in touch with. Would it be impossible to get people's phone numbers? No. Might it be difficult? What if somebody's not on Instagram? What if somebody's not on Facebook? What if they're a friend of a friend, but you really want to get in touch with them? Just because you don't have the contact on your phone doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means it might be a little bit difficult to get it. Because anything that comes from God cannot ever fully be extinguished by anything other than God. And because our souls come from God, that means that anyone that's alive has a soul. It just means that through the choices that they have made, and perhaps the actions that they have made, they have lowered their vibration, and therefore they no longer have God on their speed dial, if you will. It's not impossible for them to get it back. It just means they've stepped away from God. They threw away the phone. They don't want to get God's number again. But if they wanted to, they could. But they're not an energetic match. So in their stepping away from God, they have lost, quote unquote, their ability to create, just like they lost, quote unquote, God's contact information. So, because they lost their ability to create, they wish to deny us of our ability to create. They wish to tell us that our artistic pursuits are frivolous. Because you can't pay bills and make a living as an artist. Not unless you're a deceased one anyway. And then your bills don't need to get paid. And if it is dance that we love, and we love to create through physical expression and movement, even professional dancers are paid so little that they either have to abandon their love of dance, or maybe some of them become strippers. So that way they can still dance, but it is a perversion of the high vibe element that they create when they dance. But what if our way of creating is through healing and creating a healthier world? But most of us have been mind controlled into believing that herbs, which for thousands of years up until the advent of Western medicine was the preferred way to actually treat people and heal, we have been mind controlled into believing that herbs are akin to snake oils and are ineffective. And the only way to survive is Big Pharma. But what if we wish to create, excuse me, I'm hemming at the truth, through our extrasensory perceptions, and we wish to create a more beautiful life with those that we live in it? When we access our ESP gifts, we're told that we're crazy. We're told, you can hear voices? You need to be on medication for that. You can commune with God? No, you can't. Only Moses could communicate with God. Only Muhammad could communicate with God. Only Jesus could communicate with God. Who are you to think that you could communicate with God? The only way you could communicate with God is by reading these words on a piece of paper in a book that we give you. Because other than that, God doesn't hear you. So take now whatever beautiful way in which you yourself may desire to create and explore all the ways in which you were either discouraged by well-meaning adults in telling you you can't make a living doing that. Do that on your free time. But then you're so tired at the end of the day from paying your dues to the vigilantes that run your life to have any desire or energy to create at the end of the day. Or perhaps there's even been overt ways in which you have been denied the ability to create. Because by denying us of our God-given meaning and purpose in being here, which is to create, is a surefire way to keep us in a low vibration and to prevent us from making positive changes to the world around us. And to me, that is why it is the most diabolical thing as an energy reader I have ever seen. Because when we're in a high vibration and we have the time to spread our wings and learn to fly, we can make meaningful contributions to the world around us. But the vigilantes, i.e. the cabal, they don't want us making meaningful contributions. So they deny us our ability to create because they hate God, and by extension, they hate us. Now, the next topic that I thought you guys might be interested in is, as an energy reader, what is the most beautiful thing I've seen? And it is how all of our lives begin. It could be in any single solo particular incarnation, but it's more the very, very first time we incarnate into a body, the way that it was shown to me. And it's beautiful, guys. So it was shown to me that prior to us being born or incarnating into our very, very first lifetime, we are pure sparks of energy. And without yet having a body for our soul to reside in, we are waiting in a queue, buzzing with absolute excitement at the opportunity to be born for the very first time, so that way we can take that spark of godliness inside of ourselves into the 3D material plane, and we can create. And that despite Earth's reputation as being like the wild, wild west, and how we have these bodies, and that our expansive, unlimited souls are squashed and compressed to fit into these bodies, and that the energy here is so dense it is akin to quicksand, and that our actions create karmic shit, which then creates a further need for us to come back and work through that karmic shit again. And that in between our lifetimes, our memories are wiped. So we forget what we even came into any particular lifetime. We forget what we came to do. And that those lives include hardship and heartbreak, sickness, soul lessons, and soul contracts. And to boot, we are separated from God. Despite all of this, despite our souls knowing it before we incarnate, we are still so fucking excited to be born. Despite all of that we have chosen, first and foremost, to come here and to be born in the first place, knowing all of that and all that it entails, is in fact the most beautiful thing that I, as an energy reader, have ever seen. Because it shows just how strong and resilient we are. It shows what incredible pioneers and adventurers we are. And what absolute badasses we are in physical bodies. So, even on your worst day, please remember, you are a badass, beautiful soul that just happens to have a body and all the 3D shit that comes with it. But your soul agreed to come here. Nay, your soul was excited to come here. Even knowing before you were born what it entailed, you were still fucking excited. Number 3. What is the harshest truth about life that I have seen as an energy reader? Here we go. How unnecessarily hard we can make things for ourselves. But that I'm also going to say a lot of that can come from the lack of our soul's awareness that we have come here and we chose to come here. But I'm also going to remind you that that is by design. And it's designed to trap us in the 3D. Because we are not taught in school, whether you went to a religious school or not, whether you went to Sunday school or not, we're not really taught about the reincarnation and the soul's aspect. So we think we're just hapless people dropped into a lifetime, making a fucking go out of it, and our life happens to be sometimes incredibly shitty. Doesn't that just make your body feel icky thinking about it that way? Versus your soul was so fucking excited to be born so you could create, even with all of these 3-dimensional obstacles that may be presented to you, that your soul wanted to come here more than anything. Because Earth has this reputation as being like the wild, wild west, and you're an adventurer. Compare and contrast. But taking this intentional denial component of it out of it, and all things being considered equal, going off of what we know, or those of us that do know about the soul aspect, how hard we can still make things for ourselves, with our vibration. Because I remind you, everything in the world has some sort of a soul, spiritual, energetic, or vibrational behind the veil element that's comprising what's playing out in our 3D reality. So we can make things hard on ourselves with our vibration, and by being sloppy with it, or not staying in the high vibe, or making excuses for why we can't or won't do things that raise our vibration, or taking ownership over things that are not ours to claim ownership over, or internalizing hard things and making it to be a reflection of us ourselves on our value and our worthiness and our meaningfulness, or not understanding that experiencing hard things and hard lessons are not so-called bad, because nothing is that black and white, but are merely reflections of soul lessons we have agreed to experience, or soul contracts. But I remind you, we are all the cosmic creators of our realities. And from that elevated vantage point, our soul has agreed to everything that we will experience prior to incarnating into any particular lifetime. And thus, from that elevated vantage point, we build our life and all of our major experiences with our soul's growth in mind. Because just like school is where we go to learn things, Earth is where we come to grow in addition to creating. So, what the fuck did I write here? We knew. Okay, I see what I wrote here. Because again, I remind you, I sometimes don't write with punctuation. Like when the information is coming in, it's coming in so fast and so hard. It's like, okay, I'm just the hand that holds the pen. I gotta transcribe all of this. So, imagine we knew we had 5 or more lifetimes to work through this specific bit of karmic shit with these specific shitheads. But let's say we decide that we no longer want to. We can then condense those 5 lifetimes working through karmic shit with those shitheads. We can condense them all into one particular lifetime, so the next 5 lifetimes are shithead free. But because we've condensed 5 lifetimes of shit with shitheads into one lifetime, that one particular lifetime may be a little bit more gnarly, because it's condensed with shitheads and the energy that shitheads can sometimes bring. But also, I remind you, not all soul contracts and soul lessons are of an unsavory kind. Let's say you have that one particular friend that always has your back. That's your ride and die, as they would call it in this day and age. You 2 souls have agreed to come into this lifetime together and to always be there for one another. Because we get the karmic blessings as well as karmic shit to work through. What's the positive things that we've accumulated over various lifetimes? It's positive karmic shit, because not all of it is negative. Because aside from the day-to-day choices that we make, the big lessons, the big baddies that we experience, those were all pre-agreed to by us in advance prior to being born. Condensing 5 lifetimes of shit into 1 lifetime of shit. So if we can trust that our souls, prior to us incarnating, curated these experiences that are designed for our soul's growth, if we can trust that and just relax into that a little bit more, we might actually find we can have a good time while we're on the earth plane as well. And that our time here can be way more enjoyable than we believe it could be, or that we allow it to be. And vibration is another big one. Because in the day-to-day life, not just when prior to us being born into any incarnation, when we're kind of like the playwright and we're writing the script for the life that we're going to have, but even in the day-to-day, we are still the cosmic creators of our realities. And we can create on a daily basis by vibration as well. Because your vibe really does attract your tribe. So what energy we transmit is what energy we attract. Because energy that we transmit is like a boomerang. Whatever we put out, we attract right back into ourselves. And a lot of people don't like to hear that because they don't want to take the responsibility that their life looks the way it looks, and it's because of them. So if we don't like what we see, if we don't like what we have, change your vibration, and then everything around us changes as well. But a lot of people don't like this reality because it's easier to complain and to play victim than to accept responsibility for how truly powerful we are. Because as Marianne Williamson said in the book, Return to Love, quote, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure," end quote. Because if we accepted how powerful we truly are, there would be no one to blame for the world or our lives not looking the way that we want it to. And that is what I have for you on the hardest truth that I myself as an energy reader have seen. I'm going to counterbalance that with what is the most beautiful truth about life in the world that I have seen. Are you ready? That it is both the hardest truth of what I just discussed, as well as the most beautiful thing, which is how powerful we truly are. Because they are two sides of the same coin. That we can make life so much harder for ourselves, but we can also make life as beautiful as we want it to be. That in the same power that we may be afraid to have, that once we accept it, it sets us free. That the same sloppy vibration that attracts what we don't want into our life and will make us an energetic match for it and what we don't want, it's the very same vibration that when we raise it can unlock the door to everything we in fact do want, because like attracts like. Because energy truly is everything. And if we can live, if we can, what the fuck did I write here? Because energy truly is everything, and if we can if we can light ourselves up with what we want, we can have it. Light looked like live, and I was like, wasn't making any sense there. So yes, I repeat it now that I know what I wrote. Energy truly is everything. And if we can light up our soul with the desire of what we want, we can have it. We just have to accept how fucking powerful we are. Yes, even our soul contracts can be overridden because I remind you, we are the cosmic creators of our realities. And no, not just before we are born, but in the day-to-day as well. Because, as I always say, free will reigns supreme. Not just before we are born, when we are writing the script of the experiences that we are going to have, but also and especially in the day-to-day while we are playing out the part that we have written for ourselves. So even if you have a soul contract to experience financial hardship, you can absolutely override that. And you can manifest financial wealth, even if you had a soul contract. And even if you had a soul lesson to experience emotional heartbreak, you can override that and you can manifest healthy and long-lasting love into your life. Because we are not hapless victims of circumstances. We are not hapless pinballs dropped into a pinball machine and we are being slapped around by life like they're the pinball machine flippers. No. See parts passing. What's the most beautiful thing I had seen about life? It's the way all of our souls chose to come into our very, very, very first incarnation, knowing what the life would entail. This is not like when we're choosing to be born, there's the big contract that we're signing and the fine print is so fucking tiny you can't even see it and you're like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. No, this is not the fucking cabal. Before we were born, everything was explained to us. So that way, when we made the decision to incarnate, it was fully with our consent and our understanding of what that life would entail. And that, yes, it also would mean subsequent lifetimes to work through the karmic shit. There's a reason Earth has the reputation as being the wild, wild west, because it is. We are not hapless victims dropped into a pinball machine getting knocked around by life. No. See parts passing about it being the most beautiful thing that I have seen. We all wanted to come here. And we were all excited to come here. So we are not hapless souls floating around the cosmos, and we were soul napped, and we were dragged here kicking and screaming and shoved into bodies against our consent. We all chose to be here, knowing what it would entail and what it would be like, and thus arranging our experiences accordingly. Yeah, maybe there's going to be some shit in that lifetime, but I'm going to make sure that I'm going to pad it with a lot of really good juicy bits as well. It's up to us to pay attention to those good juicy bits, and then through the choices we make with our vibration, manifest more. But if we don't like what our soul arranged for us, right? Maybe it's okay, I'm going to condense 5 lifetimes of shit and shitheads into one. But then we're in that lifetime and we're like, okay, I know maybe the most highly aligned divine portion of myself put this together for me, but now I'm in it and I'm living it in the day-to-day, and holy fucking hell, is this gnarly. What was I actually thinking? Guess what? You can override it in the day-to-day. We can change our destiny. So, decide what you want, raise your vibration, and allow the universe to bring to you what you are a vibrational match for. And if you don't like what comes in, that happens to let you know where your vibration is perhaps a little bit wobbly so that you can course correct as needed. And then, once you do, raise your vibration and change your life, because we really are that powerful, and we are powerful beyond measure. So that is what I have for you on 4 topics that as an energy reader I thought might be of interest to you. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to comment down below and let me know. And I remind you to please take what resonates and to leave the rest behind. And as always, and until next time, stay in your high vibration.